I've always been interested in driving. When I was in the service, I drove a stick shift truck. After being retired, I got tired of sitting around. It's time for me to get back maneuvering something on the road. I'm back in school again, and I seen the sign out there, said truck CDL. I'm in school trying to get me an associate degree. One reason I quit school years ago, I'm a slow learner. But once I learn things, I can pick it up, but I can pick more so up on hands-on. The technology is different for me. It's a difference between driving a straight back truck or a stick shift car. And the semi truck amazes me. This is a program that advances knowledge. I'm determined to get an education. Gets you a skill and a trade. Live life. Enjoy it.
You've seen him on the red carpet, you've seen him on the sidelines, you've seen him on the stage. The hottest looks in urban fashion from the biggest name in urban fashion, Van Dykes. Now pick out 3, pay for 1. 3 suits for 1. Van Dykes, 10 Mile and Southfield Road. You've seen him at the clubs, you've seen him in the boardroom, you've seen him on the pulpit. Now get them at Van Dykes. 3 suits for 1. Suits for the workplace, for the club scene, to be seen in. Pick out 3, pay for 1. Van Dykes, 10 Mile and Southfield Road.
There is not another culinary or hospitality academy located in the city of Detroit.
There's a lot of people teaching culinary arts, but they're not teaching the business side of it.
We're opening up another kitchen for the Cleary Culinary Academy. We're going to bring a Cleary mind to every kitchen in downtown Detroit.
But when we talk about a Cleary mind, we're talking about a student that can make a definite impact.
We want to be a part of all the wonderful food establishments, restaurants, and the food scene in general in downtown Detroit.
And thank you so much to Jim Holley here with you on this Saturday morning for just joining us. We're grateful to you, and we're very thankful. About 3.5 minutes after the hour. It's going to be cold today, chilly, about 44 degrees on both sides of the street. About 3 o'clock today. Right now, we're talking about 29 degrees. This spot right now, about 28, 29 degrees. Working our way up to 40 for the 44 for the high. Tomorrow we're talking about 43 degrees on tomorrow. No rain and no snow in the forecast. Monday about 50 degrees on Monday. No rain and snow. So it's just going to be a dry but a chilly weekend. Once again we say good morning to you and we thank God for you. Caller, thank you for your patience. How are you this morning?
Oh, good morning, Rev Holley. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
This is, did you see Reverend Richard's book? This is not only about, this is about economics. People, it's a place in Massachusetts where they are bringing in all the nations. And people with a bachelor's degree at a factory that they try to get here in Detroit, the people there, you have to have a bachelor's degree to work in that factory, a bachelor's degree. And your starting salary is Amazon. Your starting salary is $14.90 an hour with a bachelor's degree. This is economics. It's all about economics and job insecurity that people are having, and income inequality. And shame on the city council, they giving our tax dollar, our money from our taxes out of homes today, giving it to corporations that not setting guidelines for what they must do for the people. And it's so easy for them to pay pay for what they are not doing, the jobs that they are not providing for people. But it is income inequality, and with the deplorable. Professor Richard Wolff says, once Trump people find out that those factories and those corporations are not going to come back to America, it's going to be a mess here in America, because those corporations are not going to come back here and pay Americans $30 an hour, bills and bills, Blue Cross and Blue Shield. They are not going to pay that kind of money when they can go to India and take these guys to India, Pakistan, China for 10 cents an hour. They are not coming back. And I think it's going to really be a mess in this country when the Trump supporters find out that they are not going to get those jobs. None of what he said or promised to them is ever going to see light. And I think my granddaughters, they only wait for that march. We're going to have to line up. We're going to have to resist. They are cutting out the Medicare, Medicaid, food stamps, and but yet still, you see they passed at $37. I know you all like her and the other one, what's his name? They all signed on for this horrible man, Trump, so ignorant, uneducated, to get $700 billion in military spending. What do you think about that, Rev Holley?
I'm listening to you, and I'm just I'll get
$700 billion in military spending so they can go and kill other African and Asian poor people like me.
yeah.
What do you think about that? How is it what God wants us to do? And when you all find out these jobs are not going to be here, and the young man, people over there at Myers, yes, Reverend Holley, we can get jobs. But what kind of jobs do we get? They don't have insurance. They don't have no type of savings plan. You only get 30 hours. They expect you come in, you get 30 hours a day, 25 hours a day. How can you pay rent when you have a job insecurity and you can't get a check every month for the same amount of money? You may get 30 hours this week, 40 hours this week, 20 hours that week. How can you pay your rent like that?
Yeah.
How can you eat and live?
All right, gotcha.
So I think we're going to have to line up with a lot of people for this. And I wish you would listen to Professor Richard Wolff. That's all I listen to every day on there, because everything in this is economics.
Gotcha.
And what is happening in this world. And this is what we should be thinking about. The economic impact of all human beings here in the United States.
Right.
Now,
Gotcha.
Reverend Bullock got a store open on West 7th now. You all stop going shopping in suburbs. Shop in your own neighborhood. Reverend Bullock got a store. Fill his store up.
What kind of
so he can.
what kind of store does he have?
He got a party store where he got right on Ashbury Park and 7th Mile. He can open up a store there, and he got everything that you can buy at the Arabs. You can buy at his store.
Okay.
On Ashbury Park and West 7th Mile.
All right.
Now that's doing something and employing people. Got young people in there working, and so they stop shopping with other people.
Okay.
Go shop at Reverend Bullock's store on West 7th Mile.
I'll do that.
Thank you, dear.
Caller, thank you for your patience. Hurry this morning.
Good morning, Reverend Holley. How are you?
Just fine. Thank you for calling.
I want to thank you so much. I still want you to stay encouraged. Mm-hmm. But that lady has hit the nail on the head, the caller before, and about equality. Mm-hmm. I know people who have more than masters. They have their bachelors, then they have their masters, and they still will not hire them. Okay? They'll hire in a couple of tokens here and there, these people, upon rare occasion. It's like walking into a dealership and you're seeing all white salespeople. I have watched George Maddox go from basically black and white to all white over there on Telegraph in, I think, 96. Yes, it has. And they've made all their money off the black community, basically. And I want to encourage people, if you walk into anywhere and you do not see anyone of your own color, turn around and walk out. Walk out.
Yeah, thanks
And
a lot.
another thing that kind of really hurts my heart, Reverend Holley, is that the fact that our churches will not come together in their own community. They all should have a green team with brushes, brooms, and rakes, and help out in the community along going down Outer Drive, clean up the litter and the trash in the areas that you know our mayor is not going to clean. He's only concerned about downtown and midtown and what other means he can sell off the properties in the city.
Right. Thank you so much.
So, you know, if we do not help ourselves, we're done for.
Yeah.
Those magazines that they're putting out today from 1965 with Martin Luther King on it, those same signs are the same things we've been fighting for years and decades that we still need.
Right. Thank you very much.
Let's look at facts and say, okay, we must do something together, and hopefully we can come together, at least in the ministries, and encourage the ministry to have a green team.
Right. Yeah, no doubt about it. Thank you so much for the call. Caller, thank you for your patience. Sorry this morning.
Hey, I'm great, Reverend Holley. This
Yes.
is Deputy Chief. How are you?
Just fine, thank you.
Good, good. That description of what's happening in Detroit in terms of development that you mentioned earlier, you're talking about the Little Caesars Arena.
Yeah.
Okay, you were talking about the sprinkling of African Americans throughout Bedrock.
Yeah.
Okay, that's why there was an argument for a true, legitimate community benefit agreement in Detroit.
Yeah.
That would have prevented the very things that you're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
A true community benefit agreement includes the host community group, which is the people. It includes unions. It includes clergy and the developer.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, Chief. If a person, for example, if a person agrees to do a particular thing with the community and does not do it, what happens at that particular point?
Well, okay, if the developer reach an agreement with the community group, okay, it's a contract, all right, and the host community group can take the developer to court, and the developer has to pay monetary fines and also have to abide by what was written in the contract.
Right. So
or the agreement.
For example, just follow me. For example, and I'm trying to get and I'm not really. I want to have an understanding. So this is this is not a this is not trying to play with you. But for example, so if I'm the developer, I have an agreement. I basically don't keep up with the agreement. I go to court, and I say to the judge that I couldn't find the people that basically qualifies for the agreement that's in the agreement, and so I'm asked to pay a fine, right?
You're asked to live up to the agreement.
But if I don't live up to it, I'm fine. You're fine.
You have to pay a penalty, right?
Where does that money go?
The money goes to the development. I mean, not to the developer, but it goes to the cause of, in this case, finding the people and training the people.
Okay.
And
so
that's what the host community group would do. They would sit down with the developer, with you, and say, hey, we want to build this stadium. I mean, you want to build a stadium. You're using our tax dollars, but what we want in return, in support of your arena, we want you to set up a training program so that we can get citizens within the footprint of this development. We want them trained in skilled trade so that they can get a sustainable job.
So now watch this now. So so now I'm building the arena right now. I'm building the arena, and my timeline is like 2 years to build this arena, and so in order for the people that are going to be trained for this, it's a 7 for apprentice and everything. It's anywhere from 5 to 7 years. So how do that benefit?
Well, what it is, Reverend Holley, a true legitimate community benefit agreement. They call it a CBA for short.
Okay.
It requires that the city work with the host community group, the people and the unions and the clergy, and say, hey, 2 years from now or a year from now, Reverend Holley is coming in with his team, and they want to build an arena,
right?
Or they want to build a bridge to Canada,
right?
Okay, so once the host community group find out what's coming down the pipe, if you will, then that's when everybody work together to start getting training programs set up. Okay. And then when the developers start, then there's all kind of ways, because right now there's over 150 successful community benefit agreements across this country. And if they can figure it out, then how come Detroit can't?
And of course, also the other thing about it though is that the person that's going to be trained may not be trained for that particular project, but he's trained for the next project that's coming in the future. Yeah.
But see, Reverend Holley, and you're absolutely right. But what happens is, I guess to make your quick answer to your question is there's all kinds of ways that untrained people can be trained on the job, along with academics in the school setting.
Right.
It's just that what prevents a successful community benefit agreement and training in Detroit is actually it's the union.
Yeah.
Now, if President Obama can create a program out here on the West Coast and work with the people, it's a program that he instituted called Pathways Out of Poverty.
Yeah.
Okay? He took and he got people trained for skilled trade plumbers, electricians, carpenters, sheet metal workers. A lot of them did not even have a high school education. Right today, there's documentation that some of those folks have set up legitimate businesses. Some have become millionaires, and they don't have degrees. Again, if it can work out here on the West Coast, why can't it work in Detroit?
Yeah, that's interesting. It's called Pathways for
Pathways Out of Poverty. It was a program that President Obama sat down with the business people, academia, the churches, and the unions, and they created this program.
Is it online?
And they worked with where the students are.
Yeah, is it online? Is it online, Deputy? Is it online?
Yes, sir. You can pull it up.
Okay. I'll do it tonight.
Yeah, and see, like I say, this is why we need a legitimate community benefit agreement. That agreement that Benson put together, that's not a true community benefit agreement. The benefit agreement that Brenda Jones put together, that's not a true community benefit agreement. That's why I told you 2 or 3 years ago, I did not trust the sincerity of Brenda Jones.
But you know what? But again, agreement, the community agreement or not, I really think that somehow, some kind of way, when we talk about getting people to learn on the job.
Yes.
That's that's what's going to have to happen.
Absolutely.
You're going.
There's all kinds of ways, but what's preventing it in Detroit is the union, And it's always
Oh.
been the union
Oh,
keeping
yeah.
black folks out of skilled trades.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know the history of Detroit, what's going on with these unions.
Yeah.
I mean, but they'll bring their sons and daughters and nieces and
Yeah,
nephews
yeah.
on the job,
Well,
and they would learn on the job when blacks could be taught the same way.
Well, let me ask you this then. What I mean, they got unions in California too. So how do they work that out?
That's what I'm saying. They have a whole different focus. They're serious about getting their people employed. Look at San Diego. Look at Sacramento. I mean, I remember 10 years ago, I was in San Diego, walked downtown by the ocean. Man, there was at least 35 cranes in the air, construction cranes.
Yeah.
And you talk to the business people, what's going on? Community benefit agreement. This is how we're building up downtown.
Yeah. But let me ask you this then. Yeah, okay, but I'm also looking at those 30,000 people that's homeless out there in the tents too.
Tents where?
In California, in San Diego.
Okay.
No, this is not to throw water on what you're saying.
I got you. I follow you.
Yeah, but I'm gonna look at this, Chief, and see if we can somehow, because I think some of these things, Chief, we can do ourselves without having the complications of that with the politics in it,
Yeah, well, and here's another thing, Reverend Holley. You look at like the Amazon deal, okay? This when you I encourage you and all the viewing and listening audience to pull up Crane's Detroit Business, okay? And listen to the podcast interview between Nolan Finley and Chad Livengood, who is a reporter with Crane's Business. And you will see that the Amazon deal, it was told to us to be a Detroit project, but in reality, it was a Dan Gilbert Rock Venture project disguised as a Detroit project. Because there's no way that you can tell me that Dan Gilbert can propose tax incentives to Amazon using state taxpayers' money and city taxpayers' money, and the citizens, the taxpayers, do not have the right to know what he is offering them, he is offering Amazon.
Yeah, but
he is the only one that can release or give the permission for the state to release that information. Now, if it was a Detroit project, why can't the mayor release that, give permission to release that information?
Yeah. Thanks so much. It's been nice talking to you, Chief.
Yep,
Thank you
likewise.
for calling. Caller, thank you for your patience early this morning.
Good morning. How are you doing?
Just fine. Thank you for calling.
Well, thanks for receiving my call.
Yeah.
All the other callers that I've been listening to all have valid points. One of the things that I see, just from observing, is we've become a nation of people, I'm talking about black people, that are scared to fight. We are teaching our children that there's so much against them that all they can do is complain. We become a people that have been happy to complain now and say something against us so we don't have to try. Maybe look at our ancestors. They had greater obstacles than we did, as you say, and they came 20 years after the emancipation. Black people had cities. We can do this if we start teaching our children to not be afraid to succeed.
Yeah.
That's one of the things I see. Once we get up the ladder, we start saying, I can't be prejudiced. I can't act like I'm prejudiced, so I have to act like I love white people so I can keep going. So we give them all the benefits that we should have.
Right.
We have to be equal. You say, why don't we hire one another? Because we're scared of being said we're racist.
Yeah.
So we have to be equal. We can't be like everybody else. We have to forget that.
Yeah.
And say, look, we can't worry about what people are going to say about us. Don't be afraid to succeed.
Yeah.
Not be afraid to fail, but don't be afraid to succeed. Go to school. Go to culinary school. You can do it.
Yeah.
That's probably what worked on the west side. I mean, on the west coast, without going to the unions.
Yeah.
We can do that. If you have something to offer, people will come to you. Go get your education and go somewhere else. Don't have to stay here in Detroit and do it.
Yeah.
We can do it if we put our heads together and stop being afraid. We're not, again, when you're afraid like that, you internalize it and start coming back on your own people. Yeah. It's like hitting the wall. I have nowhere else to go, so now I got to take it out on my people.
Yeah, got you.
And it's psychological more so than economic. Well, I have a lot more to say, but thank you, Reverend Holley, for taking that call. But we have to not be afraid to succeed. Yeah. Thank you.
And I thank you for the call, and certainly words of wisdom. And I thank you so much for that. 26 minutes after the hour. I was thinking, of course, why these 2 or 3 calls that came in, and I somehow, some kind of way, my sisters and brothers, I guess I keep coming back to that nobody's talking about us. You understand what I'm trying to say? I mean, nobody really is talking about us. And I think what I'm trying to say by saying that is that we're not talking about trying to put something together that really say something to our young people about the future for them, but also from an existential standpoint, from what's going on right now, and that what are we going to do right now? What are we going to do? What are we going to do? I was trying to follow this, and I'm trying to get the budget. This like 2,200 pages. I understand that this budget that Congress and the president just signed, and of course, and just want to go in it and see was anything in there about infrastructure? Is anything in it about job training? Anything in there about historical black colleges? Anything in there in terms of really getting people out of poverty? Is there anything in there to try to help those who can't really help themselves? Anything in there for mental health? In terms of what's going on with these schools, and the guy in Florida obviously was having some mental problems, and all of that, and I mean, who nobody's talking about us, and that's what that's what gets me, nobody. I mean, I don't see anybody talking about us, and and I'm talking about the leadership of Jesse Jackson, the NAACP, Al Sharpton, Farrakhan, all those guys, and I'm sure there are other great minds that's out there that basically that has an interest in, obviously, a vested interest in the African American people, but we're just making it up as we go, I remember watching Harrison Ford in I forgot what this movie, and he was on the submarine, and the submarine was going down, and so the lady that was with him asked him, what are we going to do? I mean, what are we going to do? The submarine is going down, the hatch is closed, or what are we going to do? And of course, what he said was that I'm making it up as I go, and that's where we are. It seems like we as a people, we just making it up as we go. And this is not planning. This is not planning. And so you would think that this bill that the president just signed, that the Black Caucus, and here I go again. I know you're going to be upset with me again, but at some point or another, you would think that the chairman of the Black Caucus would basically say something about what's in this budget. Why did they vote for it? And is it anything in there or not in there that should be in there? And obviously the president is coming back about his walls. He's going to come back. Eventually they got to come back to the dreamers and all of that kind of stuff. But again, my sister and brother, God told me one time, if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. Let me just say that again. If you're not at the table, you're on the menu. In other words, if you're not at the table, they're talking about you and basically dealing with you and deciding for you because you're not at the table. And somehow, some kind of way, that's where we are. That's where we are. That we're not at the table. And so what are we supposed to do? I mean, I'm really, really just hoping that the Black Caucus and with this piece that I've been showing you that they presented to the president, but understand that the Democrats also signed on this bill, on this budget. The Democrats signed on it big time. African American Democrats signed on it big time. Let me say it again. African American Democrats signed on this thing big time. And I'm just saying to you, my sister, brother, then, is it anything in there for us? Is it anything in there for us? Is it anything in there for our insurance, lack of insurance? In there for jobs? Anything in there for education? Anything for urban education? Anything in there for historical Black colleges? Anything in there for mental health? Anything in there for prison reform? Is it anything in that budget that he signed? And so I'm just saying to you, my sisters and brothers, who's talking about us? I mean, who's really giving, saying to the power, speaking truth to power about where are we in this? Where are we in this? And obviously, this president is, I mean, what can you say? What can you say? I mean, he's president, and so he's president, and I mean, I'm just saying to my sisters and brothers, who's talking about us? Who's really planning for us? Who's really making sure that government we're in the budget, that we're really on the menu, and that basically the menu is dealing with our situations and our calls. Yeah. Anyway, caller, thank you for your patience. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing good. How you doing, Rev Holley?
Just fine. Thank you for calling.
Yes, I like your little hook up there. It was very nice.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
But you said who's talking for us? Nobody is, not even us.
Yeah.
We're not talking for ourselves.
Yeah.
Now, first of all, I'd like to say I believe that the city council, our city council here in the city of Detroit, going back to what the gentleman said about the community benefits agreement, these are predominantly Black folks sitting up on the city council, and they do not have our interests at heart, and they're Black. So nobody's talking up for us, not even us. That's the problem. All these things that have happened in Detroit that are detrimental to its citizens happen at the so-called behest of Black folks, whom I believe were paid off by white folks to carry their agenda instead of ours. Second of all, you mentioned going to some factory that you saw was owned by, I guess he was the owner, and you didn't see any Black folks. Well, I would have asked him, excuse me, my man, is there a reason why you don't have any people of color in here? And I would have been interested to hear his explanation. But the same way you wondered why this Black man didn't have any Black people in his factory, a lot of our citizens here are wondering how this predominantly Black city has a white mayor.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Caller, you're in touch. Hurry this morning. Good morning. Caller? Caller, you're in touch. Hurry this morning.
I'm calling back. Reverend Holley, nothing's in there for student debt. Do you know that student debt is at $1.3 trillion? Do you know you can't get jobs? Do you know it affects your credit, where you can't buy a house because of your student debt loan? Nothing is in here for us. But I remember Elijah Muhammad said that there was going to come a day that America was going to stop doing anything for Black people. You just mentioned it. You said, what is in there for us? And if there's nothing in there for 12 months times 2 million black males would do $240 million. Elijah Muhammad predicted this 60 years ago. That they going to put us out here with nothing. Nothing.
Got you. Thank you so much for the call. Appreciate it. I thank you for calling back. I at some point or another, I really want to take time out, my sister, and try to deal with this piece that you about giving African American men. I think you said like $300 or something like that, and that they will work together and try to produce. And how can I say this? I just feel we're not ready for that. If I give 10 black guys $3,000 a piece, and that comes out to be $30,000. I'm just saying to you is that I'm just not quite sure that we're ready for that. I'm just not sure for that. I just don't know whether or not they would pull their resources together. Will they pull themselves up by their bootstraps, or will they basically use the money for themselves rather than pool it together to make something out of it? I just don't think we're ready for that. And I'm just being honest with you, and I could be wrong, obviously. I'd like to think and really wish that I could be wrong. But I've loaned people money. They don't, and if I got the money back that I've loaned, I would be doing pretty good. I really would be doing pretty good. I'm just saying to you is that there was a guy named Herman. He passed, and he was in adult foster care. And every day I gave Herman he wanted $3 for that would give him coffee and a donut, something like that, for $3 every day, for the most every day. So if you put 9 times 3, and I did this for Herman about 30 some years. Now I added all of that up. And in the 30 some years that Herman, before he died, and that I've given him that money every day. And sometimes he wanted $7 for whatever he was trying to do, because they didn't treat him right at the foster care. But I just come to love him, and sometimes he just sit in my office and just and we'll talk and all. But I thought about it, and when he passed, over his lifetime, I gave him over $90,000. In those 30 some years, I gave him. And I was so mad at myself, because what I should have done, every time I gave him something, I should have put myself, had some money for myself, and put it away. Every time I give him something, let me match what I gave him. And you come to realize over what you accumulate. And you give and you get, and you never think about it in a long range. You just basically deal it from day to day, and that's how many of us really work, is day to day and not long range. But if I had really saved every time I gave Herman something, and put something up for myself, we added that stuff up. It came up in the times that before Herman died. He was obviously, he's not the kind of person that you perhaps talking about, but he was from adult foster care in the area. And when we moved there, he was the first person I met, and just to come to love him as a son, like. And his family never visited him, and he walked the streets all downtown and up. He just walked to smoke and walk, and that kind of thing. Sometimes he'd come with a black eye. Somebody had beat him up, and he'd come with scars on him. But I'm just saying to you is that I bring this up to let you know and obviously you're not talking about people that basically are from that foster care, but I'm just saying to you is if we somehow the churches, if the churches just come together, and we say 25 churches come together and we put all of our money in the same bank. We pull our money in the same bank and then ask the people that's in the bank, if I do this and we bank there, then can you indeed give us a grant and give us something that we might be able to create some jobs with together, that we can create some jobs? You know, I see these family dollar stores popping up in our community. You know, we could have a second 7-Eleven that the 25 churches could have supported, or something else. But the point is, my sisters and brothers, even whether you're talking about people coming from prison and giving them $3,000 or $300, or just people like me and other men and women like me to give us $3,000, would we really, really do right by the people, do right by the cause? And I'm just saying to you is that we should be like that. You know, we should be like that. But down through the years, for decades, this in our community, my understanding is they have given to poverty programs over 50 billion. That's with the B, 50 billion. And that they have given it to various agencies and people that's supposed to take and get people as the deputy says about pathway out of poverty, and that's what it was designed to do and all. And we're still in the same situation where for the last 50 years in the same situation. I'm just not quite sure, and maybe it's just me. And I'm grateful for the concept, but I'm just saying to you is that how do we really work together? How do we really work together? You know, for me, NAACP is something I always love and always really will respect for history and what they brought, how they brought us. And so if we put our resources there, and try to get them to help us, but we got to do something like that, whether you want them or somebody else. But I'm just saying to you is that I remember again as you you talked about the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, you know, and again, you know, these guys are selling bean pies and fruit on the street and things like that, you know, and then Farrakhan had toothpaste and all the other kind of toiletries, and we didn't support that. I used to have cookies and potato chips and you know, those kind of projects. I've had a funeral home. I've had a convalescent home. I've had a strip mall, and so people. I've had a place like a country fried chicken, Kentucky Fried Chicken place called Mahalia Jackson. We had a franchise with Mahalia Jackson chicken, and people still went to the Colonel Kentucky Fried Chicken and passed our place up, which is 1 block away. And then the guy that was managing it sold his chicken rather than my chicken. And so you end up, you know, you can't be there watching the store all the time. You try to trust people and that kind of a thing. I've been there. Understand, my sister and brother, I'm just not talking to you as if I'm something fresh jumped off a fruit truck. I've been there, and I'm just saying to you is we should be. You know, we should be. You know, the guy that there's a guy in the new president in Liberia, new president in Liberia, and the guy's been there 2 months, you know, and he's borrowed like 500 million from one guy out of the Philippines. I think he's bought, and basically his wife is building a house. She's from Jamaica. He's Liberian, but his wife is Jamaican, and she's building a hotel, and it's with the money from this country, building a hotel in Jamaica, on the ocean. You know, I mean, taking the money from, and the people need the money, and the people and so whether it's in Africa, whether it's here in the city of Detroit, you know, and somehow, some kind of way, my sisters and brothers, this is you know, we gonna have to answer to God for all this stuff, all these opportunities that we have. Look into Congo. This guy that's the president. He rather have another 200,000 people killed rather than to step down when you should step down. Look at the guy in Nigeria a few years ago, after he knew he was going to be defeated, stole about 300 million, and they decided to let him keep it because they didn't want to have a coup. And so the whole country was broke because this president stole the money. I mean, I could go, you know, so whether it's in Africa or whether it's here in the United States, and you look at the Black Caucus that's in Washington, and you have a president that signs a bill, and we don't even know if we're in it. We don't need why do you have a Black Caucus? Why do you have anybody black if he's not going to represent the people? I mean, why? Why? Caller, thank you for your patience. How are you?
Well, I'm back again. You know what, Reverend Holley, you know, you have to do something. We have to do something. That's capitalism. That's capitalism. Everywhere you go where capitalism is, you have the oligarchs and the poor.
I know.
And now, since we have our freedom over here, you say, my son said the same thing. He in the nation, too. He said, we can't get 4 black guys to sing together. I said, you're a lie. We are the 4 top. They used to sing together. Okay. I mean, we're going to have to do something.
You're right.
You know
I agree with that.
We got a 5-year limit on welfare. What are these women going to do?
I got you.
How are they going to pay rent? How are they going to pay a house note? Can't even get a house.
Yeah.
Well, and you talking about it can't be done. Yes, it can be done.
Okay. All right. I'll take it. I'll call you and touch her this morning.
Good morning, Reverend Holley.
Yes, how are you?
I'm okay. I was just listening to you. And respectfully, you sound more contradictory.
Okay.
And you have more faith in the oppressor than the oppressed.
Okay.
You telling us about we can't get the jobs and the people won't hire us because of training. But why weren't we trained? Our schools were destroyed. And it's like you want us to have more faith in that. Then, like you said, you wouldn't give 10 black men $3,000. And you have more, like I said, you have more faith in the corporations than you have in your own people. And you've had all these different businesses and people wouldn't support you and everything. But I'm going to end this. I'm going to just say one name to you, and you think about it. Mr. Joe Jones, and how your business deal with him went.
Okay, so I'm not sure I know who he is, but caller, you in touch. Hurry this morning.
Hey, Reverend Holley, this is Deputy Chief. Hey, look, you know, when you say the NAACP, the Urban League, the Congressional Black Caucus, that's not the way to go.
Okay.
And the reason I say that is because white folk, white philanthropists, white politicians control the leadership of those entities. That's why, like in Detroit, you look at Wendell Anthony in the NAACP, he's part of the problem in Detroit. You look at the majority of the churches are controlled by Mike Duggan. So that's why I say that's not the way to go. What we need is radical change.
I got you. Let me, and I hear you. It's because of time. I just want to get this caller back in. The person before you, Chief, maybe it does sound like a contradiction. I don't think so. It probably you only listened to half of my monologue. But the other thing about it is, Chief, I just don't see. First of all, nobody controls me. Nobody controls me, and I'm sure nobody controls Winter Anthony. I mean, you may disagree with him, and you can. It's okay, but I'm just saying to you is, whatever you think, they do well. They do good by us, and a lot of stuff that they do it's just not aired. It's not aired, and it's not publicized. The other thing about it is, when you talk about Mike Duggan owning the churches, I mean, or have control of the churches, just because we support or some people support him doesn't mean he has control. It's just not fair to say things like that. And I'm part of the NAACP. I'm part of Urban League. I'm not the Black Caucus, but I'm part of the church. And it's just because we disagree don't mean people that I'm controlled because I disagree. It has nothing to do with that. I just think different about this particular issue or this particular situation, but don't mean I'm controlled or others preachers. The other Reverend, I know these guys. I know these people, men and women, who are pastors of these churches. They work hard. They work hard in the establishment, and they're against what's going on, just like you are. But it's just not fair, and for me to sit here and allow you to say that about other churches and about churches or about the organizations. But I do feel like you got a right to say it. I just disagree with you on that. That's all. But I'm just saying that again. With the other person that called and says that I'm just saying to you that I give you the practical part, and that is that at this point in my life, I have been through the fire, I've been through the rain, I've been through the flood, and God brought me through all of that. He brought me through all of that, and so I talk about these experiences. Based upon just that, the experience that I've had, doesn't mean it is absolute, and you may have a different experience, my sister and my brother. You may have a different experience, and that's fine. It is fine, and I'm just saying to you is indeed that it's not that I have faith in corporations or anything like this. I just feel that they have a duty to do right by us. They have a duty, but if you got an African American got their own business and don't have anybody black in it, I have a problem with that. I have a problem with that. I have a problem. There's nothing in this world that blacks cannot do. It's nothing. It's nothing that you can have in this world that blacks cannot do. I may not be able to do it, but there's somebody black that can do it. And this is all I'm saying to you. And I don't want to leave you with this feeling that the antithesis that you're making me feel that's going on here. I'm just letting you know, my sisters and brothers, that there are people that's against it. It's no doubt about it. But also there's some things we are doing against ourselves, that we're against ourselves, and somehow, some kind of way, we have to have a conversation about this. And I just don't see it happening. I don't see nobody talking about our situation. And so if you got a president signing a bill and president is signing a budget, and you got a black caucus that voted for it, then I just like to know what's in it for us. What's in it for us? I heard Schumer, Senator Schumer, say what he saw in it. I saw Nancy Pelosi. She said what she saw in it. Paul Ryan, whatever the guy is from Kentucky, he said what he saw in it. You know, so I like to see what my congressman and what my black caucus, what they see in it for us. I think we got a right to ask that question. Well, anyway, I got to make room for the next program, and I apologize to you for being so long and long-winded, but I thank you for your calls. So you really make the program happen, and for that I'm very grateful. We'll, if the Lord says the same, we'll be here again a week from today. Don't forget, on April the 7th, I think it is, we have the Wayne County Treasurer to be here for the whole 2 hours to ask all your questions about how you can save your house and the things they got there to make sure that you can stay in your house. So we will have that on the agenda. And also, Jerry Brown will follow up on the next Sunday in terms of talking about, again, the water bill and that kind of thing, and the question about the regulations and all this in terms of the regional water. Well, you know what I'm trying to say. So anyway, I hope that indeed that I didn't, if I offended anyone, I apologize to you. Just counted to my head and not to my heart. Thank you so much for being with us. Barry Kelly will be up next. Say, oh.